20-yard line. Led by a new quarterback this week. Eric Kramer gets his first start of the 1992 season. And it is a patchwork offensive line for Detroit. That front, the weakness of this Lion football team in 1992. Sanders, the only running back. They'll start with 4 wide receivers. And as you saw, Mike Farr is in for the injured Jeff Campbell. The tight end, Thomas McLemore in motion. Sanders on first down. Out to the 23, a gain of 3. Defensively for the Steelers, Gary Howe gets the call at nose tackle. He's in for Joel Steed, a coach's decision there. Among the linebackers, Lloyd and Nickerson are tied for the team lead in tackles. An outstanding secondary led by 3-time All-Pro Rod Woodson. Second down and 6. Kramer to Herman Moore. He dropped it.
One of Detroit's plans today is to throw the ball quickly. McLemore is in at tight end to give them a little more protection. They have been sacked a lot, and they're really concerned about making sure their offensive line gets off to a good start. That time they threw the ball short, but it didn't get them anything.
Wayne Fonts made the decision to go with Eric Kramer this week. He feels that Pete and Kramer are pretty equal, but that you mentioned on the NFL Today, Pete's advantage was in the mobility that he has lost due to injury.
And Kramer gave him such a lift last year in the playoffs. Maybe he can do it again for them.
Third down, a long 6 for a first down. Blitz. Man open, but it's incomplete. Brett Perriman was open at the 45-yard line, but Kramer missed him.
Here we're going to see a blitz. You can see the linebacker coming right up the middle. Again, this is the problem they've had. They don't pick the blitz up. Kramer has to scramble, and that was just a freelance play. Threw it over the wrong shoulder. Could have been a huge play, but now they have to punt.
Jim Arnold averaging 43.5 yards per punt. He'll punt it away to Rod Woodson. He's 4th in the AFC with that 11.5-yard average per return. Woodson from his 32. And down at the 39-yard line. George Jameson made the tackle for Detroit. Neil O'Donnell has been the starting quarterback throughout the season for Pittsburgh. In his 3rd season out of the University of Maryland, it's an improving offensive line for Pittsburgh. Tremonti Dawson, the center, having a particularly good year. Barry Foster, the featured back. Hodge, now a blocker. Jordan gets the start at tight end. Eric Green out of action this week and for 6 games in all due to a suspension for violating the NFL's substance abuse policy. Foster wrapped up by Mark Spindler and down for a gain of 1.
Barry Foster now we're really going to see one of the most physical runners in the league, as we said earlier. And if he's going to get this Pittsburgh offense going, he has to get off to a good start in terms of that 3, 4, and 5-yard gain.
Mark Spindler, Jerry Ball, Kelvin Pritchett, the front 3 for Detroit. Chris Spielman on his way to being the leading tackler for Detroit for the 5th straight year. And an excellent secondary. For the most part, it's the same defensive personnel that the Lions had last year when they went 12-4. O'Donnell got away from Spindler. Down the field and incomplete. He overthrew the tight end Adrian Cooper at the Detroit 20-yard line.
We're going to get a look at this from the end zone. And again, it's a similar play to what Detroit had. He backs up and he's going to get a pass rush. Spindler's in his face and he scrambles away from him. Now he's got a chance to find Cooper all the way down the field. But the ball is overthrown and Cooper just couldn't change direction. We talked about Eric Green at the start of the game. There's an example of the receiver not quite able to adjust to the ball. And Cooper's coming over and said, why didn't he throw that a little straighter? I was open.
Looks like that 17-mile-an-hour wind might cause a problem with the down-the-field passing game. Not that time. That's complete for a first down into Detroit territory. Mark Didio, the rookie out of the University of Connecticut, just activated for today's game. That's his first National Football League catch for 12 yards.
Well, we're going to get a look at him just back up and throw the ball to the corner, to the outside, to the right. Watch this ball go through the air. It's not a real pretty pass. And when you play in wind, receivers really have to concentrate because that spiral coming in sideways sometimes. It looks like a curveball or a knuckleball, and you really have to concentrate.
What a thrill for Mark Didio, his first NFL catch. Back to the ground with Foster. Tackled by Chris Spielman with help from Ray Crockett after a gain of 6.
That time you got to look at Foster doing his stuff. Now he was hit for a gain of about 1 or 2 there, and he just kept his legs going and made an additional 4 or 5 yards. That's what the physical runner does for you. He's hard to stop when you originally get a hold of him. And for Detroit to slow him down, they must stop him when their first contact.
Foster started the day needing 58 yards to reach 1,000 yards rushing for the season. He'd be the 4th man in Steeler history to rush for 1,000 yards. They go to Foster again. This time 2 yards to the 40, setting up 3rd down and 2, 3 carries and 9 yards to this point for Foster.
This kind of weather, you know, doesn't have a lot of effect on the back or on the offensive lineman. It's the throwing game that is really involved here. If that snow sticks on the ground, then it becomes difficult to cut. But Barry Foster, he isn't worried about cutting too much. He's coming after you. For the Pittsburgh offense, this is the kind of situation they like, to get 3rd down in less than 4. They can get 4, 3, or 2 as they are now. They feel like they're progressing the way they like.
No score. We've played just more than 4 minutes. O'Donnell to Hodge. First down, Steelers. Hodge taken out of bounds at the 33 by Dennis Gibson. A gain of 7 and a first down for Pittsburgh.
Hodge is in the backfield now, and this is what we were talking about. He's the back on our right. See him come, kind of sneak out of the backfield the other way. The play action pass gives him a chance to get open. He's open, makes the catch, gets the first down. That's what that 3rd and 3 and 3rd and 4 does for you. You can still use the play action pass in that circumstance, and people are going to respond to the run, particularly when you're faking the ball to a guy like Barry Foster.
Hodge has now caught a pass in 36 consecutive games. First and 10. Foster tackled by Spielman after a gain to the 29. That's a pickup of 4 for Barry Foster.
Here we're going to look at a confrontation that's going to happen a lot. Here you see Foster start up the field. Chris Spielman is a guy he's going to meet a lot of times in this game. Those two guys are both going to have headaches when this game is over because they're looking at each other before the ball snap and coming after. Here we look at Barry Foster, the kind of improvement he's made. That's a pretty good improvement, and he's only 23 years old. Now, if he can do that again next year, he'll have about 3,000 yards rushing in a year.
Certainly had much more opportunity this year under the new offense installed by offensive coordinator Ron Earhart. On the delay, Foster. Thrown down at the 25-yard line, 2 yards short of a first down. The nose man, Jerry Ball, a Pro Bowler each of the last 3 years, made the play for Detroit.
Here we get a look at Bill Cowher, and this offense is doing what he wants. Again, here they are, 3rd down and 2 again, or 3rd and a long 1.5. Bill Cowher says that's what we plan to do. Now we can come with whatever they want in their offensive system. Bill doesn't look cold. He looks like one of those tough Pittsburgh guys. Hey, man, this is great weather.
Whereas his counterpart, Wayne Fonts, who we saw earlier, was all bundled up. Used to having half of his home games, all of his home games, more than half of his games each year in the domes. Foster barrels for a first down. Down to the 19, tackled by Benny Blades.
Here again, we get a look at Barry Foster doing his stuff. Again, he's given the opportunity with the down and distance. Just steps over now, finds the lane. The hole is there. Breaks off a guy. Watch those legs keep going. He's going to keep those legs going right through to the end. And it takes about 3 guys to get him down. They got a first down inside the 20.
An impressive opening drive for the Steelers. No score. Down to 8:10 to play in the first quarter. Foster now with 23 yards on 6 carries. Foster again. And here he renews his acquaintance with Chris Spielman. Those two are going to see a lot of each other today.
They sure are. And it's going to be one of the keys to the game if they can slow him down. Now, here again, he comes up with the 3- and 4-yard gain on first down. And if they can match that on second down, they again get themselves in the environment that they want. You have to stop the power running team for second and make them 2nd and 8 or 2nd and 9 if you're really going to be successful. Here's a great opportunity for the play action pass. If you fake the run here, you can't see very well, so the play action pass might really be in a great spot for you.
It is play action. O'Donnell dodged the rush. Now he's in trouble again and throws it away. He threw it in the direction of Cooper, but he was happy to get rid of it before Kelvin Pritchett took him down.
When you run a play action now, the play action is fake to play. Now it comes out. Now you see Jamison coming off the corner. He wasn't fooled by it. Pass protection breaks down quickly on play action passes if you don't fool them faking the run. Detroit, I think that time said, hey, they're liable to come with the play action. That's why nothing really worked for them.
The forecast was for off and on flurries.
If this is a flurry, boy, don't put me in a blizzard.
Wait till it starts snowing for real. 3 of 3 on 3rd down on this drive of the Steelers. This is 3rd down and 6. O'Donnell threw it away. This stadium is tough enough on kickers, although you wouldn't know it by Gary Anderson's track record. He's the 3rd most accurate kicker in NFL history. When you combine the wind that's always here with this snow, it's a tough task for Anderson as he clears a spot for a 33-yard field goal.
Don't you get the feeling, though, if it's not going to bother a kicker, this is the guy it won't bother. He's a pretty tough guy, and he's been one of the great kickers in this league.
See if he can find the ball. Not that time. Anderson, clearly hampered by the elements, hit a line drive that came nowhere near the goalpost. A good drive ends with no points. Midway through the first quarter, no score.
Sony introduces the new standard in television. Trinitron XBR Squared.
Hey, look! It's the Grand Canyon!
It'll change the way you feel about everything you see. From Sony.
Colts. Buccaneers. Lions. Cowboys. Seahawks. Rams.
After the teams chose the inspiration for their names, they chose GTE, the telecommunications consultant to the NFL. Imagine what GTE could do for you.
It's a celebration.
Celebrate life.
Here we get a look at the field goal try. We can see what went awry here. The ball snapped, and he's got it down. He doesn't go, whoa. So let's see you kick that one. Lie it flat on the ground. That's not exactly the right placement that I think Gary Anderson had in mind.
Mark Royals, the punter, is the holder. His hands might be a little cold. This snowstorm started just as the game started. You can see how much snow is on the field already midway through the first quarter. Lions on offense for the 2nd time in a scoreless ball game. Barry Sanders started at the 20, brought it out to the 24, we think. As the yard lines are now just a rumor. Kenny Davidson made the tackle.
We talked at the start of the game how these two runners have different styles. Certainly Barry Foster from Pittsburgh, this weather's going to help him, and I think hurt Barry Sanders. That great escapability that he has is going to be severely hindered here. He has great acceleration, and he may be able to go by some people, but his ability to cut is going to be very, very limited.
On 2nd and 6, Sanders gets a block from the tight end Johnson. And he's out of bounds, short of a first down at the 28. About 2 yards short was Barry. He's had kind of an up and down year. His best game came in week 7 when he rushed for 122 yards against Tampa Bay. He's had 3 100-yard rushing games this year.
It just shows you that no matter how great the runner, and this is a great runner, you can take him away if you're willing to commit enough people to it. That's part of the reason Wayne Fontes is trying to get away from the 4 wide receiver set. It's great for Sanders if they will devote a lot of people to covering those 4 wide receivers, but when they say, hey, we're going to play man and come up and stop Sanders, they clearly can.
Certainly Sanders has been hampered by the makeshift offensive line playing in front of him. 3rd down, a short 2. Kramer throwing deep for Perriman. Incomplete, flag thrown. Rod Woodson had the coverage, and he made contact with Perriman at the 44-yard line of Pittsburgh.
Well, that's just one of the cases of the receivers slipping and sliding and coming to a stop, and Woodson just really couldn't stop. He didn't have to hold him. This may be the #1 offensive weapon on this field today, is that machine.
First down.
Rod Woodson guilty of pass interference. The referee today is Johnny Greer. That snowplow reminiscent of when Ron Meyer, the old Patriot coach, sent a snowplow onto the field in Foxborough many years ago for a game-winning field goal against Miami. From the 44 of Pittsburgh. 1st and 10 for the Lions. Sanders turns the corner. Down the sideline and out of bounds with a first down at the 29-yard line. D.J. Johnson chased him out. There is a flag down on the play. Thrown back at the line of scrimmage. Steelers players indicating it's a holding call against the Lions, and it is.
We're going to get a chance to look at Barry Sanders basically get outside here. If the outside linebacker gets held, I think he'd have had Sanders, but this guy can accelerate. You give him a little bit of a spot to run the football, and boy, he can go by him. It is definitely going to be hard for him to cut, and but you give him a little crack, and he's liable to put that ball in the end zone in a flash. But again, one of the problems that Detroit's had all year is the penalty, the mistake, the mental mistake. That time, the tight end just reached out and grabbed Kofor, and just that was, Lloyd, and that was the reason why that play came back.
Back to the 46 of Detroit. They'll stay with Sanders. This time he runs into the arms of Greg Lloyd.
Here we're going to get a look. There's just not a lot of blocking that goes on here as Barry Sanders starts to the outside. Lloyd is right off the block. Sanders has no place to go. The wide receiver was unable to block the strong safety, so there's just no place to go. And then again, as we said earlier, in this kind of weather, he's stuck. He's tackled for a loss.
Second down and 22 upcoming for Detroit as we're under 5 minutes to play in the first quarter. There is no score. Lions operating from their own 44. Flag down. There was movement along the line. Willie Green taken down by D.J. Johnson after a short gain out to the 48-yard line.
Here we're going to see the offside. He just jumps early. Howe is not that good of a pass rusher. I don't know why he was trying to get a head start. That's the kind of thing that kills you. You got him 3rd and 1,000,000, and then you give him one more chance.
Offside. Defense. Right defensive end. Still second down.
I'm sure they're going to tell him, we don't have you in there to rush the passer anyway. You're only 5'9" and about 300 pounds. You stay on side and look for the draw.
Gary Howe, in his first year out of the University of Colorado, he played for the Frankfurt Galaxy in the World League this spring. So now it's second down and 17. The Lions just short of midfield. Again, the quick pass. This one's incomplete. Through the hands of Thomas McLemore.
McLemore for Detroit is the guy that they are trying to make a transition from 4 wide receivers to a tight end that can catch the ball. McLemore is a young player and still learning, but they feel they've got to get to him because he can help them blocking wise, particularly on third down, stay in and give them a little extra protection. But he also can get up the field and make the catch vertically in the secondary. That's going to be harder to do today than in most days, but that's a lot of their thought of gradually moving to a tight end style of offense.
Kramer 0 for 3 now. The Lions 1 for 2 on third down. This is third in a bunch. 17 to go. Man open. That's a catch. No, it is not. Out of bounds. Well, wait a minute. The officials do get together and rule he was out of bounds. Willie Green caught it, but he was over the sideline, so the Lions will have to punt.
Here we're going to see the foot down. He probably doesn't know where it is. There's one down, and you can see the other one clearly step across the boundary. I think when the boundary is where it's more snowy than inbounds is less snowy. But he clearly did not get both feet down, and that was kind of a lazy effort on his part. He could have just as easily stayed inbounds and made that catch.
Woodson back for the punt from Jim Arnold. Big rush this time, and they block it. Steelers can't pick it up. It was blocked by Warren Williams. The pileup is at the Detroit 35-yard line. First and 10, Pittsburgh there. Warren Williams, the backup running back, broke through and blocked Arnold's punt.
Here we see Arnold catching the ball, concentrated, coming right down the middle. Boy, he was all over him. There was just a breakdown of the blocking assignment. He almost took that ball right off his kicking foot.
Arnold had gone 211 punts without a block, the longest streak in the NFL before that.
Suppose you wanted to make a chair as stable as can be. Where would you put the legs? Right at the corners, right? Now, suppose you wanted to make a car as stable as can be. Where would you put the wheels? Right. That's why the new Intrepid is so remarkably stable. The wheels are pushed out toward the corners. The further we pushed, the more stable and sure-footed it became. Intrepid. This changes everything.
Back in Pittsburgh, no score. The snow is starting to subside, and following the blocked punt, the Steelers have it first and 10 at the Detroit 35-yard line. O'Donnell swings it out to Foster. He's down at the 28, the gain of 7 on first down. For an NFL update, let's check in with Greg Gumbel in New York.
All right, Sean, at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. The Chiefs get on the board first. Christian Okoye from 2 yards out with the extra point. The Chiefs lead the Redskins 7-0 in the first. Sean?
Thank you, Greg. The first block punt for Jim Arnold since 1989. He had gone 211 without a block, the longest streak in the NFL. And it was the first block punt by the Steelers since 1989 as well in a playoff game against Houston, December 31st of that year. Foster wrapped up by Jamison, but not before Barry Foster picked up the first down inside the 25.
Here is that block punt. Now we're going to get a look. Watch how they have a stunt coming here that comes loose, and two people come on Jones, the personal protector, and he's stuck, and he doesn't know which guy to block. See the stunt coming around now. Jones has got both of them. He tries to get both of them, doesn't do a good enough job on the first guy, and boom, the punt is blocked. Weather like this, boy, the kicking game becomes such an enormous part of who wins and loses the game.
1st and 10 from the Detroit 24. Foster. Boy, he had plenty of blockers in front of him as he tried to turn the corner down at the 20.
Again, we're getting a look at Barry Foster coming from split backs, running sideways. One of the problems with this play, we see the blockers ahead of him, but they're all going sideways, and Foster's got to find a way to turn up through that mess and get a couple of yards. Again, yeah, that could have just as easily been a -1, but he found his way up the field. When you go sideways, the blocking phalanx in front of you has got to make a turn and get up the field. If it doesn't, you go for naught.
Barry now just 23 yards shy of 1,000 for the season. 2nd and 6 for Pittsburgh. No score, 1:25 to play in the first quarter. O'Donnell with all kinds of time, overthrown. Looking for Cooper. William White, the strong safety, had the coverage.
He had Cooper for a while there in the end zone, but I think he saw him late, threw it late, and it just wasn't there by the time the ball got there. When you're throwing the ball down those seams, the quarterback has to see it early and get it up in the air early, or people wind up covering it the further the ball goes down the field.
As you mentioned on the NFL Today, a lot of the Steeler players we talked to during the week didn't feel there was much of a drop-off with Cooper in there instead of Eric Green. Most of them said Cooper's a better blocker. Some of them, including Neil O'Donnell, said all Cooper needs to be a better receiver is more confidence. He comes out of Oklahoma. They didn't throw the ball to him much in college. O'Donnell throws that time to Mark Didio. Playing in his first NFL game, he made the catch for a first down, his second catch of the day at the 11-yard line.
Well, this isn't going to be his last NFL game. He must be their snow specialist. Well, look him get inside of Crockett there, and he goes up and makes the physical catch. That's an outstanding job because it gives him a first down, keeps the drive alive. What a way to start! What a way to start a new career, isn't it?
Indeed it is, and he's finding out already they hit a little bit harder in the NFL than the Yankee Conference. O'Donnell to the end zone. Touchdown. Ernie Mills.
This is the same play they scored against Buffalo last week. You can see Hodge come out of the backfield, go short. Mills go long, open. They all jumped on Hodge. And Mills is open in the back of the end zone. Hey, it worked last week. Let's try it again. And it did. And they've got a touchdown.
Second of the season for Mills. Gary Anderson. Much better conditions for the extra point try than the field goal try of a moment ago. Ernie Mills with his second touchdown in as many weeks. 7-0 Pittsburgh. That 11-yard touchdown pass to Mills capped a 35-yard drive set up by the blocked punt. And the Steelers lead 7-0. Gary Anderson's kickoff down to the goal line to Mel Gray. Flag thrown as Gray goes down at the 16-yard line.
Well, that's one of the things that Detroit just can't keep letting happen to him. They have one of the great kickoff returners in football, and they take any chance he has to be successful away by getting continuous penalties. They have gotten a lot of penalties in the kicking game. It's an area they feel they could be very good, but as long as you get that penalty, it really hurts you. Now it puts them back, starting a drive deep in their own territory, on their own 8.
Gray last year led the NFL in both kickoff returns and punt returns. He's the first player in NFL history to lead the league in both categories in the same year.
Isn't it amazing how the weather has changed again? I thought we were in for a blizzard. Now it looks like it's starting to be a nice day.
Partly cloudy skies overhead. The snow has stopped. 34 seconds to play in the first quarter. Movement again in the Pittsburgh front, and it looked like they made contact. The question is, were they drawn? The answer is no.
encroachment, 93, defense.
Joel Steed, who's alternating at nose tackle with his former University of Colorado teammate, Gary Howe.
Well, Howe was offside earlier in the game, and so they put Joel Steed back in. He probably wanted to make his partner feel good. Say, I'll go offside too. Then they could be mad at both of us.
Those Buffalo stick together. Steed, a third-round draft pick this year by the Steelers. 1st and 5. Sanders. It's a good block from Johnson, and Barry has a first down out of bounds at the 23. A gain of 10 for Barry Sanders.
Look how quickly Barry Sanders gets outside the lead block. Look at the blocker come right there. Boom, he takes the corner. He's right outside him, right around him. Now he's going to finish the run with a little stiff arm here. That end keeps it going. Great runner. He hasn't had the year he's had in the past, but he is exciting every time he carries the ball. Barry Foster told us the other day he's the only back in this league that he would get up off the bench and go to the sidelines just to watch him carry the football. And I concur with that.
1st and 10. This will be the final play of the first quarter. Sanders bounced off the hit of Gerald Williams behind the line of scrimmage, and finally Carnell Lake knocked him out of bounds at the 28. That's the end of the first quarter with the score, the Pittsburgh Steelers 7 and the Detroit Lions nothing.
Let's take a look at the greatness of Barry Sanders now. We're going to see him get the football and watch him as he confronts the tackler. Stop it right there. Now we see how, as we started up again, he's actually going to back up, give ground, let the tackler kind of slide down, and then he's off to the races, and he's going full speed again after about 2 steps. There aren't a lot of guys in this world that can do that, I'll tell you.
2nd and 5 on the first play of the second quarter. Pittsburgh leads 7-0. Kramer with his first completion to Brett Perriman for a first down out to the 46-yard line. D.J. Johnson made the tackle after a gain of 18.
Those guys, there must be, they're trying to, it isn't that cold. It isn't trying to be in a dugout trying to keep warm. But that was a nice throw by Kramer, and that's going to give them some confidence they can move the ball. Again, the play action fake, hold the pass rush. And Perryman one-on-one, and he just beat the corner, Johnson.
That's 29 straight games with at least one catch now for Brett Perriman. He's had a reception in every game of his Detroit career. Again, movement on the defensive front of Pittsburgh. No flag this time. The Steelers called a timeout. Early in the second quarter, 7-0 Pittsburgh.
Are you sure you want to do this?
Yeah, I like this shop.
Okay, but we got a long list here.
Here, let me get the wine.
Okay.
You know what? It's a great Chardonnay. I hope they have it.
Everything looks wonderful, you know.
Hey, Bill, what's the story with this wine?
Yeah, Bill, what are we drinking?
You tell me what you think, and I'll tell you what it is.
I think it's great.
Ernest and Julio Gallo present a very special Chardonnay. It's time for a change to Gallo.
Kmart's got a great price on Xerox antifreeze. There's a $1.50 mail-in rebate, too. This will make a great gift for Rita.
Who's Rita?
The car.
I thought Sheila's the car.
No, Sheila's the lawnmower.
Lucy wants to paint her room.
Again?
Chartreuse.
Let's get some GE soft lights. They'll make it easier to take.
These bulbs work great, but they don't work miracles.
You know, at these prices, you can afford to be more generous.
I'll buy that.
Completion of the day. 1st and 10. The Lions at their own 45, trailing 7-0. Sean McDonough along with John Robinson. Happy to have you with us on CBS this afternoon. Kramer for Perriman, intercepted. Darren Perry, the rookie safety. Brought it back to the 45-yard line.
Here we're going to see an interception of a ball thrown late down the middle. We talked earlier about that. Kramer had him open for a little while. Watch him go back now. He's looking. Watch him hesitate. Now he lobs it down the middle, and the hole is gone, and he throws it deep, and it's an interception. If you're throwing down those seams, you got to throw. There's the hole. You see the ball is thrown much too long. Perriman doesn't do a great job of tackling there, and again, Pittsburgh has a big break and a great field position.
4th interception of the year for Perry. That leads all rookie defensive backs in the National Football League. He was an 8th round draft choice. O'Donnell down the middle through the hands of Cooper, and then he got leveled. Here come 3 flags thrown at the feet of Benny Blades.
That's something the officials are calling this year, the defensive back teeing off on the receiver when he's in a vulnerable position after the ball has gone by. Again, they're trying to do the same things with Cooper that they did with Green. That time you see the difference. The ball ticks off his fingers. One would say that Green
Personal
probably...
foul, 36, defense. Unnecessary roughness after the pass.
You would think that Green might have been able to make that catch.
Blades is arguing, but he better argue with 3 different officials because 3 of them threw the flag on that play.
Here again, you see the intention of the safety man. That ball is off. Now look how far away. He's going to get him. He's just, that's what he's going to do. Safety men feel they have to intimidate receivers in the middle, but you have to do it quicker than that.
That was much too late. 1st and 10 Pittsburgh at the Detroit 40. 1 minute played in the second quarter. The Steelers up 7-0. Jameson, the tackle on Barry Foster after a gain of 1. Flag down for a holding call against the Steelers.
Well, that balances it back up. You know, as a coach, you always say, well, they're just evening it out, and it isn't. And I'm sure there was holding. But you can't help that paranoia standing on the sideline saying,
holding, 62, offense, still first down.
The veteran Tunch Ilkin called for holding. He's back in the lineup this week after sitting out last week's game at Buffalo with a sore lower back. He's in his 13th year out of Indiana State. He was born in Turkey and moved to this country when he was 2 years old. His mother was Miss Turkey in 1950. The draw, Foster. They didn't fool the Lions that time. He's thrown down for no gain. Let's check in again with Greg Gumbel for this NFL update.
All right, Sean, we'll take you to Milwaukee, where Green Bay quarterback Brett Favre finds Sterling Sharp for 5 yards and the touchdown. With the extra point, the Packers lead the Eagles 7-3 early in the second quarter. Back to Three Rivers to Sean and John.
Great quarterbacks in this league in a few years. I really like him. He's still learning. He's got in a system now that is going to bring out the best in him, and we'll see him become a very, very fine player.
Neil O'Donnell says he's in a system that fits him just fine under Ron Earhart. He's 5 for 10 today and looking to throw again. Incomplete. He's lucky he didn't get Ernie Mills seriously hurt with that throw. He threw a pop-up down the middle with all kinds of Lion defenders waiting to line up Ernie Mills.
Yeah. Here again, we see the quarterback throwing late down the middle. If he's going to throw, that ball's got to be there now, right there, not another 10 or 15 yards down the field. If that ball had been close to Mills, they'd have carried him out of here because he threw him right down in the mess. It's hard for young quarterbacks not to be tempted to throw late in the middle. It's maybe the worst sin a quarterback can commit. We saw Kramer do it. Now we see O'Donnell do it.
3rd down and 20. O'Donnell out of the shotgun. 4-man rush chasing O'Donnell. Man open. First down, Pittsburgh. Charles Davenport, the rookie out of North Carolina State, down to the 25-yard line. A gain of 25.
Here we're going to look at what happens when a quarterback can scramble. Part of this now is you'll see the middle rush disappears. Look at that big hole for him to scramble. They're pushing everybody by. Now he gets time. He's a good athlete. Finds the spot. Now the secondary you can't ask to cover much longer than that. All of a sudden everything falls apart. Davenport is open and they have a big play. They got off the hook that time.
Woody Woodenhofer, the defensive coordinator of the Lions, told us yesterday their biggest problem this year on defense has been rushing the passer. Barry Foster could not turn the corner that time. A flag thrown late. No gain on the play. We'll see what the flag is all about.
Well, that's going to be holding on the tight end whenever that's the guy that he's watching, the in man on the line, holding, and we're going to see it right on the corner there. When One of the things that I think Pittsburgh has done an excellent job this season is getting the ball effectively run outside, but they're not doing it. Here's Cooper now. I think we're going to see it on Cooper. Watches the guy, gets away from him. There, he's got a hold. It's okay to hold for a while, but if you hold a little too long, then they start to see it. Now, this is not a Pittsburgh type of drive. They've had 2 holding penalties now on this drive, and really with this type of offense, they can't, reasonably expect to come off the hook. They had a big play on a scramble that time. Now let's see. They're fairly close to field goal range, so if they just get part of this back, they can be in a place to kick a field goal.
Steelers lead 7-0. 11:40 to play in the second quarter. On 1st and 20, the screen. Foster juggled it but caught it. Now has blockers. Foster with 1 man to beat. Down at the 5-yard line. Caught from behind by Dennis Gibson.
Here's the screen now. They're invited. They start a fake a draw play. Now they're letting the people come in. Foster does a nice job of bobbling it, getting back going. Now he's got a big lane. You see that Davenport got a nice job of blocking there. Almost a touchdown. That's 2 big plays by Pittsburgh when they're back first down or second down and 20. And that's not the kind of thing they normally do. But you can see the problem starting to build up for Detroit. They're making errors, and they're also letting people off the hook.
Woody Widenhofer, longtime Steeler assistant coach. Now the coordinator on defense for Detroit. Foster pulls his way inside the 5. He's down at the 3 after a gain of 2. 2nd and goal upcoming from the 3. Foster has now carried 11 times for 37 yards, and he's caught 2 for 37 yards. That screen pass that brought them down to the 5 was a gain of 30.
Well, he's certainly the key guy in this offense. They're going to go to him, and they'll keep right on going to him. They'll either fake the ball to him or give the ball to him. Look for him coming outside this way or a play action pass.
They bring Foster in motion, leaving Hodge in the backfield. O'Donnell, end zone, incomplete. Looking for the tight end, Tim Jordan.
The rollout pass in the goal line, I think he was looking for a Hodge in the flat right away, and he's covered right away. As you can see, O'Donnell said, hey, coach, that one didn't work. You got to come up with a better one than that if we're going to get in here. 3rd down, they've got a 7-point lead. They want to be careful now. 3rd down, you want to throw to get in the end zone, but you want to be careful. You want to make sure you come away with 3. Because a 10-point lead right now looks awfully good.
The lead is 7-0 for Pittsburgh. 10:04 to play in the second quarter. Drive more than 4 minutes long, and Neil O'Donnell wants a timeout with 3rd and goal upcoming from the 3. We'll return to sold-out Three Rivers Stadium in just a moment. We'll see what they try on 3rd and goal from the 3. 7-0 Pittsburgh. 10 minutes to play in the first half. Play action pass incomplete. Intended for Hodge. It looked like he didn't see the ball until it was past him, and the field goal unit will come on.
Here we're going to look at Hodge was the guy they're going after. Watch Hodge try to sneak through, come out the other side, try to confuse the coverage, look for the ball in the flat. He didn't confuse a lot of guys there, did he? And that was, you got to give Detroit a lot of credit. That timeout, that's what they talked about on that timeout. They got other personnel in there. They probably said, look for him or play zone, or let's make sure we look for that kind of play, and they guessed right.
Gary Anderson drives that one through, a 21-yard field goal. With that field goal, Anderson has moved into 9th place in NFL history for career field goals with 246, passing former Lion Eddie Murray. Back in just a moment. Despite 2 holding penalties on the drive, Pittsburgh came away with 3 points, courtesy of this 21-yard field goal by Gary Anderson. Out of the hold of Mark Royals. Much easier try that time without the snow on the field. Earlier, Anderson couldn't get a 33-yard attempt airborne. Troy Stratford brought it out to the 27. That time they popped up the kickoff, trying to keep it away from Mel Gray, and that's a good idea.
And that's one of the things that a great kick return does for you. They still get good field position, 27. Usually if you get the ball to the 23 or 24, you're good. So they got about a plus 4 or 5 yards. Sean, they need a great drive here. I mean, they're you know, the psyche of the guy that's having trouble and is losing is saying, uh-oh, here we go again. We're down, you know, we're down 10-0. The offense can't move, and right now is where they need to be efficient, move the football.
On 1st and 10 from their own 27. Kramer to Willie Green, running room. He's at the 40 of Pittsburgh. Breaks the tackle of Lake. Willie Green's going to score. "73 yards and a touchdown for Willie Green." That was about 3 separate plays in one, including shaking the tackle of Carnell Lake at about the 20-yard line of Pittsburgh.
You think they listened to us and said, okay, if you want to drive, here's a drive. Here's now what big receivers do for you. Look at this big guy. He's harder to tackle, and he isn't willing to go down. Now he gives him his kind of Barry Sanders move there and goes down the sideline. I think there's going to be a trend back to this kind of a receiver, the 6'2", 6'3". Obviously, you could point to Jerry Rice and some other players that have done so good at that. But this club has 2 big wide receivers. I think this league will move back in that direction. It was a great play and great response by Detroit. I think Detroit now is back in this football game, and whatever those doubts are put to rest.
There's an injured Steeler on the play.
Tap Barry on the shoulder and say, hey, did you see that move, Barry? One of your moves.
Jason Hanson adds the extra point. One play, 73 yards, and a Detroit touchdown.
Well, there's Green explaining to everybody exactly how he did all of that. I say, oh, yeah, I always do that. I run down that sideline and make everybody miss for a touchdown, yeah. But you can't believe how important that play was for Detroit. All of those kind of seeds of worry that were developing in everybody's stomach now are put aside, and they're starting to say, hey, we can win this game.
Hanson's kickoff to the goal line to Rod Woodson. Across the 20 and tripped up at the 22. Melvin Jenkins made the tackle. Ron Earhart, the offensive coordinator, with some final words of wisdom for Neil O'Donnell. O'Donnell, the third-rated passer in the AFC coming into today's game, and he's behind a couple of guys named Kelly and Marino, so that's distinguished company indeed.
And he's a very different kind of player than they are. The thing he does so well for this offense, he fits what they're trying to do. He's efficient. His percent of interception is the best in the NFL. He fits the style of offense they have to a T.
1st and 10 from the 22, Barry Foster. Tripped up from behind by Gibson as Foster made it out to the 38-yard line. He gained 16 and picked up a first down.
Here we're going to see a great look at Barry Foster coming off behind Cooper now. The tight end does a great job. He keeps hold of the block. Hodges is in front of him. Now watch him just accelerate as you see there almost. Now that's the one thing that Barry Foster doesn't have. Once he breaks that thing, he doesn't have that tremendous acceleration that Barry Sanders has. But boy, he can get it up the field. He's an excellent back.
He has 53 yards today. He needs 5 now for 1,000 for the year. He has it. 1,000 and more in the Lion territory and out of bounds at the 40-yard line. So he picked up 16 on the last play and 21 on that one. And Barry Foster is the 4th man in Steeler history to rush for 1,000 yards in a season. John Henry Johnson, Franco Harris, and Rocky Blyer, the others, and the last man to do it, Franco Harris, back in 1983. The crowd realizes that, and many of them are on their feet at Three Rivers.
Well, he's an exciting player, and he's the big thing that surprises me. He's 23 years old, so he's got a few more of those kind of seasons at him, and this season's a long way from being over.
He left the University of Arkansas after his junior year to come into the NFL. Merrill Hodge, good cutback. He slips through the middle to get to the 35. That's a gain of 5 for Hodge. Chris Spielman tripped him up. First carry of the day for Merrill Hodge, who in the previous regime under Chuck Noll and offensive coordinator Joe Walton was the featured back. But now Barry Foster has taken over that reign.
Well, you don't know what that does for the offensive lineman when a man rushes for 1,000 yards. The offensive linemen just suddenly are able to put out about 10% more effort. They are just as excited as they can be about it.
On second down, O'Donnell. Incomplete. Davenport was out of bounds. There was a flag thrown in the secondary.
I think we may be looking at offensive pass interference down there. Davenport certainly was pushing on Jenkins, and it is that.
You had a terrific record as a coach. You're doing well in broadcasting. I think officiating might be your calling. You've been right on top of all the calls today as you look at downtown Pittsburgh.
Number 80, offense. Still second down.
Well, that's one of the things you learn as a head coach. You learn to make judgments about it. You don't have to be right. You just have to make sure you're rooting for the right side. This time, though, I thought it was pretty obvious. And that's really one of the things that's happening this year. The big receiver is physically kind of dominating the smaller corner. As big receivers become more in vogue, we'll start to see corners get a little bigger as we go. It's an evolution that goes on, and we're moving towards the big receiver.
Uncharacteristically, the penalties piling up for Pittsburgh. They lead 10-7 to the Steelers. Foster brought it back to the 41, a pickup of 4. Tackled by Robert Porcher, backup defensive end, who has checked into the ball game for Detroit.
Here we get a look at the nickel coming on the field. Adrian Cooper coming off. Boy, he has played a big role for this club, and with his blocking ability, now that he's the starter, he's going to get the kind of recognition that probably escaped him during the time that Eric Green was the starter and getting all the accolades.
Pittsburgh 5 of 7 on third down today, but this is a tough one at 3rd and 11. Down the middle, incomplete. Into the hands and out of the hands of Charles Davenport. And the punting unit comes on for Pittsburgh.
One of the problems that the Detroit defense has had this year is the inability to put pressure on the quarterback, and that time there wasn't much pressure. He had a great throwing lane. The ball just wasn't caught.
Mark Royals. Eldray watches it sail over his head and into the end zone. 41-yard punt on the first punt of the day from Mark Royals. In his 3rd year out of Appalachian State, in his 1st year with the Steelers.
You think they're not going to give him a hard time the way he held that ball on the first field goal? He's going to hear about that all week.
So the Lions take over their own 20, trailing 10-7 with 6.5 minutes to play in the first half.
There's Coach Fonts talking to one of his defensive safeties, William White. Wayne was a defensive secondary coach for years in the NFL. Most of his background has been in the defense.
4 wide receivers, and only Sanders lined up behind Eric Kramer on first down. The draw yields 3. Greg Lloyd, Gerald Williams at the bottom of the pile for Pittsburgh.
I think either Kramer or Sanders were lined up in the wrong spot that day. I think Kramer expected him the other way. There he goes and says, whoops, where? Oh, there you are. Sanders says, man, you gave me the ball too late.
Barry with 29 yards on 7 carries. He came into the game needing 150 yards to become the Lions' all-time leading rusher and pass Billy Sims. He picks up the first down. Woodson tackled him at the 31. He picked up the first down by a yard. 1st and 10 Detroit.
Here we're going to get a look at the quickness of Barry Sanders. Watch him now. Again, it's the draw. Same kind of play. Now watch him explode right there. Wow, look at that. Now up the field. See those quick moves up the field. I do get excited watching run. But this man is different than any other runner I've ever seen. Maybe Walter Payton had some of that same kind of quickness. But this guy is in a league by himself.
The best I've ever seen, says Coach Wayne Fonts. They stay with Barry, and this time he's dropped for a loss of a yard. Gerald Williams and Rod Woodson. It was Williams who made the original contact.
He's so exciting and frightening that he really draws the attention of the defensive coaches as they get ready to play games against him. Pretty soon he's the focus. And last year Detroit did a great job of throwing the ball while everybody was looking at him. If you recall Kramer in the playoffs, he had some sensational games faking to Barry Sanders, throwing the ball to the wide receivers. That just hasn't happened yet this year.
Barry needs 8 yards for 5,000 career rushing yards. Kramer throwing on 2nd and 10. It was tipped, but caught by Herman Moore. He's out of bounds at the 31-yard line. A gain of only 1.
Well, we got a personal foul penalty going on there. Some people mouthing off at each other over in the sideline. Somebody's drawn a penalty. Sometimes a pass rusher that doesn't get there, if he's totally stopped, watch Lloyd there. He's not doing much of a job rushing the passer, but he gets up and blocks the football and really kind of destroys this play. Now we're going to see the pushing and shoving that goes on. There's a late hit coming in there. Nickerson comes in and knocks far down. Now we'll see who the penalty's on.
Unsportsmanlike conduct, number 54, offense.
I think he meant defense.
He meant defense. He was kind of offensive that time.
Correction, 54, defense.
Hardy Nickerson.
Now that's a good job by the officials, because in those kind of situations that happen just after the play, sometimes you see the second guy, you know, the guy that retaliates. That time Nickerson was the guy that caused it, and he got the penalty. Well,
they chose to ignore the certainly not very sportsmanlike conduct by the Detroit assistant coach over there, who was arguing whether or not Herman Moore stepped out of bounds, as we saw on the replay. The penalty brings it out to the 46. 1st and 10 Detroit, ticking down toward 4 minutes remaining in the first half. The Steelers lead 10-7. Barry Sanders thrown down for no gain. Hardy Nickerson brought him down after Sanders got away from Carnell Lake.
Well, Detroit, it certainly appears on first down that they're going to stay with that draw play to Barry Sanders. You know, you can defend it and defend it, and then all of a sudden he's going to break loose. But what it also does for them, it helps the offensive line. The offensive line does need help. There's Dan Henning, the offensive coordinator, a man highly respected in this league for his offensive mind and his ability to coach his style of offense.
He was the head coach of the Chargers last year. Deep drop by Kramer. Deep down the field, the pass intercepted. D.J. Johnson stepped in front of Herman Moore and picked it off at the 38-yard line.
Here again, I think a pass thrown a little bit late. It's a deep out. He's just stepped forward. He has good protection. The ball is thrown late. The corner comes in, just makes the interception, and really he had a guy open. So often interceptions are caused by quarterbacks. The timing, either the receiver runs the pattern a little short, or the quarterback just delivers it late. And again, the air seemed to mount up